Usually, I'm the one who complains from my soapbox. I use it to cover for my lack of skill,
for sure,
and time playing the game. But now that
accurate,
now that I'm good, yeehaw!
That's totally fair.
I can't kind of complain so much, but I agree with you on this rant, which is why it was added at the 11th hour.
It really, like literally today,
really was literally today, and we have still talk about other stuff too after this, but that's cool. We can roll into this
stuff, dude. Yeah. Okay. So before we talk about this, really,
let me mute this here.
I just want to say one more thing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Games Workshop released an article, right?
Yep.
About weapon changes in general.
Yes.
So they listed out all of the different weapons that were being changed, and they're all things that we thought were changing. Flamer range going up, multi-melta, new melta rules. Seems like it's much better.
Pretty much the stuff from Indominus that people were bitching about. So like the storm shields, some of the other stuff,
and then like listing out different units that would affect.
Right.
So like storm shields and custodes, like blah blah blah.
Big winners, big losers.
Right.
Let's sell some Sisters of Battle Retributor boxes because they
kidding.
They appeared so many times.
So much better. Yeah. So of course this set the internet on fire because like, oh shit, look, Space Marines are getting all of this stuff. Let's totally ignore that. All the Imperial armies plus Chaos armies, since they share so much like war gear, are getting updates. In addition to all the other armies that borrow Imperial war gear, like Gene Stealer cults and things like that.
I think my favorite thing was like people were complaining about it online, and they're like, "Yeah, another Space Marine buff. When are my Elder going to get love?" And I'm like, "Well, your Banshees have power swords, right?"
Right, exactly.
And they're like, "Yeah, but aside from that one, what is everyone else getting?" I'm like, "Well, Gene Stealer cult has access to a lot of that stuff, right?" Well, aside from that army, well, I'm like, "Well, Chaos Space Marines have a lot of," and it's just like it's not just Space
keeps
Marines
going, man.
yeah.
So, look, guys, like, okay, first of all, let's talk about Space Marines. All right, so
this is Salty Ditty is what I have this under here because it's from Thazar. It works.
Oh, right. It's like an 8-bit pirate tune.
Heck yeah.
Space Marines represent the easiest financial opportunity for Games Workshop over any different other faction. So updating Space Marines is the most financially easy and sound decision that Games Workshop can make because they can make one kit and make it apply to like 11 different armies, right? Because the Space Marine chapters, like individually, are so much different than any other faction. Like a Space Marine chapter, like the difference between White Scars and Iron Hands is so much different than the difference between like Vostroyans and Catechins for Imperial Guard. Like you just can't compare the two like on any kind of reasonable basis. And yeah, that's because Space Marines have gotten more support and things like that. That's the way that it is. It's literally the most popular army in the game for good reason.
Let me put this into another perspective. Games Workshop's stock price when 8th edition was released was $39.65 a share.
Okay.
And we've been kind of complaining that 8th edition was like hugely Space Marine focused. They had a lot of Space Marine units come out. People have made graphs of like
only last year though,
the
right?
hundreds of units that Space Marines have like put out. Their stock price today is $128 a share.
Man, so it's like triple?
So that is quadruple almost.
Oh, because it was $30 a share?
It was $30 a share when it came out.
Yep.
So yeah, Space Marines sell.
Yeah, and like I remember in my time working as a manager, like and ordering Games Workshop product quite often in a game store, like just the Space Marine line itself, like in fact, just Tactical Marines outsold the entire fantasy line.
Yeah. I think when the end times came along, the paint range was outselling the fantasy line.
It's crazy. So like. Like to put this, and this was way before end times. So we're talking like 6th edition fantasy, right?
Oh man, good fantasy.
Well, all right.
I'm muting myself again.
Space Marines take up a lot of space, and Space Marines, like it just the ability for Games Workshop to profit off these guys is crazy high, and they're all different. It only takes a little bit to like make all of these. It only takes a little bit of effort to make a sale that can span. Like I said, like you've got 6 Space Marine factions that come in that come in supplements, right? So that's 6 armies.
There was 7 supplements that came out, right? Because there was one for each original chapter.
Did 6 because there's 9 original Loyalist chapters.
Okay. So you have 6, the original Loyalists, plus Space Wolves.
Yep, Space Wolves,
Blood Angels. Death Watch.
Dark Angels.
Dark Angels.
Okay, so that's 10.
So already we're at 10 baseless, and that's without doing custom chapters.
Right. Not custom chapters.
Homebrew chapters.
We're not counting Grey Knights, although we fucking could because Grey Knights use a lot of the same vehicles and other units that Space Marines use.
Sure.
So it's very easy again for Games Workshop to really make an impact by releasing one kit and then giving it access to it to all these Space Marine
So you
chapters.
could make one unit.
Right.
And you could make, okay, this is my Chaos Space Marine unit, and you sell that to 4 to 5 armies, maybe like max.
Right.
Whereas if you make that same unit but put a little Space Marine price tag on it, that's 11 armies,
Easy.
right off the bat that have to buy that unit.
Dunzo.
Yeah.
So, oh yeah, sorry, we didn't count Black Templars.
Who does?
They have their own supplement.
Who does?
I mean, yeah, fair. Anyway, so there's a dozen armies. In addition, if you count up all of the armies in 40K, because the Space Marine armies do play so much differently, I do count them as different armies. You can count them as one if you want to. That's up to you. But they play so much differently and so thematically compared to other armies that you almost have to count them as different.
Ever since the supplements came out,
oh my god,
an Iron Hands list is completely different from an Imperial Fist list, which is completely different from a Raven Guard list.
Right. And the Iron Hands and Imperial Fists are both shooty chapters, right? Mm-hmm. But they play totally differently, which is great. And is exactly how they should. Anyway.
That big side sheet.
So to complain about Space Marines getting this huge buff, you're complaining about half the armies in the game, or a third of the armies in the entire game getting a buff. Because if you count those 12, there's probably only about 25, 26 total armies in the game. Maybe 30.
I will say Space Marines are generally the most forgiving faction.
For sure.
Because I know when we talked about our game, right, and you were talking about playing Eldar and then going back to Craft World, you have to deploy really well. You have to play really well. Whereas the Space Marine armies are designed almost for the new player to come in, and they can make mistakes and they can do things, right? I mean, obviously not high level, but
sure. So the issue is, right, Space Marines are always fairly easy to kill. Mm-hmm. Although, of course that may change. I don't really know. Heavy intercessors seem very good. But they have a low skill. It's easy to get into Space Marines and be okay.
Right.
But I think it's probably pretty hard to play Space Marines at a super high level. You still have to be a good player to do well with them.
But you can kind of come in, throw a few repulsors down on the table and do really well with them, right?
Probably not.
Oh, okay.
I would say. I mean, you may say that you can do that, but
things that I've lost to a lot, just kind of throw it out there.
Well, I mean, but at the same time, so don't disparage our other teammates, John.
No, he's a meme.
I'm better than him.
He's a meme.
Okay. My point to all this, right, is that saying that you're sick of seeing Space Marines get updates is not really a fair comment, because they take up so much of everything in the game, and they're a Mary Sue. Yeah, but they are the most popular army, and Games Workshop is going to continue to do things that make that make good business decisions for them. And this is one of them. I don't think this is going to drive anybody out of the game. And I think that they're really doing a good job of fully replacing lines. They did that with Sisters of Battle.
Yep.
They're going to be doing that with other armies. They're doing that with Necrons. The entire Necron line pretty much is getting replaced.
Apart from
huge
Ghost Arcs and your croissant ships, everything is pretty new.
Ghost Arcs, or the Arcs, the barges. Mm-hmm. So the Catacomb Command Barge, the Flyers, Immortals, and Death Marks, and Wraiths, and Tomb Spiders.
That's it.
I think that's it. Everything else is it's crazy. There's so many more units, so much more playability. I'm very excited about that release. But yeah, and secondly, the second part of this is As we've seen with a new article that literally came out today.
Yeah,
right.
I'm very excited
You
about it.
only have a small piece of the picture until you have the actual book in your hand. So complaining that Space Marines are going to get a buff is stupid because you obviously haven't seen points. Like, yeah, we've seen some weapon profiles, but we haven't seen them all. We don't know what else has changed, and things are changing and getting better. But Games Workshop has already said that points are going up on Space Marines in general.
Right.
So, like, the game is already less killy. I think that Space Marines are going to be not as easy to play. I think it's going to be probably harder to play them.
Well, and it's what we were hearing from playtesters about Ninth is you need to specialize in one faction because it's going to get
so
much
complicated,
harder to play well.
I think it's going to be a lot harder to just jump around between a bunch of stuff because, like, the ability that the supplements give Games Workshop to like really delve into a faction and like make them have access to like 50 stratagems.
Yeah.
It's hard to like know exactly which ones to play at any one given time.
But it's an important thing, again, to look into. You don't have the full picture.
Right. And so because you don't have the full picture, like we saw today when they released the article about how character auras are changing. So I would say the biggest complaint about Space Marines, right? Biggest complaint about Space Marines, all the rerolls.
Yes.
Like rerolls are so powerful, like Chapter Master rerolls are so dumb, they ignore all my negative penalties to hit. And now there's only a -1 anyway. And like, yeah, they're just going to hit with everything. It's going to really suck. But now, like we're seeing, yeah, they're going to have rerolls, but the rerolls are going to be limited by what units can accept them because they're adding in this new core keyword.
Yeah.
And the core keyword is specifically designed so that all of the most powerful auras the army has is only going to affect troops, which, like, John and I have talked about this quite a bit. We both love this change. Like, we think it's amazing. It's so simple. It's so deep.
Like, for us, it came out of left field. Like, neither of us were expecting this to be the change. But even if you look at what they talked about for Space Marines being core, where it's Terminators, bikes, like troops, things like that, it makes perfect sense.
Yep, exactly.
And the beauty of it is if something starts getting too good, like say aggressors are core troops and they're getting too good and they're getting two buffs, they just release an FAQ that says remove the core keyword.
Yeah.
Instantly worse. If they have something that isn't as good, like the new Space Marine Land Speeder or Storm Speeder, if that isn't add the core keyword, is such a simple, powerful change to make.
Oh my God, it's huge. Like that changes everything about them. And it makes so many other different things apply. Like I can't express enough how great of a change how great of a change. But for all the people that were complaining about Space Marines like the day before, like you had no idea.
No.
Like you had no idea what was coming down the road next, but you decided just to complain without seeing the entire picture first. So I think it's super important that not only do you see the entire picture, but you also wait until we have like some viable actual numbers to actually complain about this stuff. Yeah. So like when Space Marines are totally dominating the meta, it's totally fine to complain about that. Like if they're getting a 70% win rate with their new book, like that's great. But like to complain about them now is stupid because the new book is right around the corner. We have no idea what we're going to see in it. I mean, we have some idea. We actually know. We have a pretty good idea what we're going to see.
We have a pretty good idea what we're going to see.
But we don't know the particulars, and the devil is in the details for this stuff.
But I think the important thing to remember is we alluded to it earlier with our kind of 40k MZ. There's no competitive play really going on right now. There's nothing really happening. So the slightest bit of news that's being released is being torn apart for any kind of negativity to fuel Comp40k.
So, like for instance, Salamanders won one grand tournament, right, in the United States, like the one that was going on, and they won one in the UK.
Yeah,
but granted, I am not as paying as super close attention to the news as I normally do. But that's not that much stuff going on. But yet, everybody is like Salamanders are great, and they are. They're very good. But I don't know. I just wish that everybody would like bide their time a little bit more before going hard complaining about it.
All I know is I pay attention to the Falcon. And fair. He is not even talking about stats or how it works because there isn't enough information yet.
He's waiting until they hit that magic, 2,000 games or 2,000 tournament games played.
And that's when he'll be like that. But yeah, you're absolutely right that we only have half the picture. I think I'm really looking forward to the Space Marine book now.
I want to see it, man.
I want to see it. And I think when it comes, it's going to be such a long video.
So, okay. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be huge because, You know, we may have to break it up into like
We will absolutely be breaking it
Yeah,
up into different parts. Yeah. How to maximize those clicks.
yeah. So just keep that in mind. Everything is changing. Nothing is staying the same. Like everything is in motion. Games Workshop can fact all of this stuff in an instant and change things. Like we just need to be patient, and we need to like before everybody has like a giant fucking blowout wine fest. Like just really think about what's coming down the road, and that you don't have like every piece of the puzzle.
No. And control what you can control. I can't control
Exactly.
how good Space Marines are going to be. I can control how good my list is going to be.
Correct.
I can control how well I play my list. And
Focus on beating those Space Marines, you know?
focus on doing that. And it's, I've seen like, I know Seth from our Rogue Trader Network partner, Dangly Boys, just kind of been like, hey, Grey Knights were broken in 5th. We had Leaf Blower Guard. We've had other broken things before. It's not going to do any good to focus on how it's broken. Focus on how to beat it.
It's not the end of the world.
And I think 9th edition gives us the tools to do that, because individual units can be good. But if you listen to top players, they're focusing on the mission, the objectives, what they can win. I listened to an Art of War speaking to one of the Necron players from Australia.
Yeah.
And he was saying that every single game he plays, he ends up with 1 or 2 models left.
Yep.
But he has 90 points, so he wins.
That's right. And that's what you have to focus on.
That's what you have to focus on. Focus on the positivity. And if you can't, bitch about it in the comments. Let us know.